Welcome to There's a Lesson in Here Somewhere. Conversations with interesting people with fascinating stories to tell and from which we can draw important lessons. Here are your hosts, Jamie Serino and Peter Carucci.
Hello and welcome to There's a Lesson in Here Somewhere. I'm Jamie Serino.
And I'm Peter Carucci.
And we're here today with Al Cook, a former drill sergeant, business, church, and community leader, and motivational speaker. Al, welcome.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We always have such great conversations with you, and we're looking forward to our discussion today. So I'm going to jump right into the drill sergeant thing, okay? Because I have to say, I always think of Full Metal Jacket when
Right.
I hear drill sergeant. I think of Stripes, but I really think of Full Metal Jacket. And I'm really curious if you want to just tell us a little bit about what that experience was like of being a drill sergeant.
Well, first of all, Jamie, Pete, I did 10 years overall in the military. And out of that 10 years, I must say that the most challenging part, but the most rewarding part was when I was a drill sergeant. Because it's not like, say, you watched all the movies, Full Metal Jacket and Officer and Gentleman, and the concept that you get is this drill sergeant, this tough guy. It's the concept that you get, but you come to learn that it's really not about that at all, only to a certain level of respect. But what it's really about is about teaching and training and molding individuals, and that's where the real beauty of it is. And to be able to look at a young man that's 17, 18, and his goal is to become a soldier. And my goal is to make sure that he achieves that. And it's just so beautiful when you teach someone and they finally get it. Because the key that I found, Jamie, was being a drill sergeant. The key is to instill in someone the confidence in themselves that they can accomplish whatever they desire. And and being a part of the military with some of the things that you go through, you do develop that confidence. For example, when I first got there, one of the things they told me was that you have to go into the gas chamber, and they told me you have to put this gas mask. When gas pops, you have to put this gas mask on in 9 seconds. I was like, no way. I'm dead. I said, no way, and I'm visualizing this. But what happens is when you learn how to do it and you say, yeah, I really can do that. So now that individual knows, so now he's confident in you as his drill sergeant now. And you have to be able to bring them through the mental part, the physical part. Things are different for them. But the main thing I tell them, I say, listen, what my whole desire is that on graduation day, I want to be able to look into the stands and see your parents looking at you. I want to be able to look into the stands and look at them parents and they say, wow, that's my son right there. He left, he was just an 18-year-old brat, but look at him now. He's a soldier. And that's the only thing as a drill sergeant that we look for is at the end, they came as just a trainee, but now they're a soldier. And
Now,
that's the beauty of it.
what happens when they first get there compared to when they leave?
Well, well, this is what happened when they first get there. In this, initially, we go to what's called the reception station, and you have several drill sergeants there. And you have the first sergeant there, and we don't say anything at all to them. The first sergeant does everything and gets the troops together and calls out the names, take roll call, and we don't say anything. We're just there. And once everything gets situated, then we load them up and we're going off to the individual companies and we put them on these cars. We call them cattle cars. So these cattle cars, they hold about 40, 50 guys. And we get there on the cattle cars with them and we don't see anything. And then we ride off. And then eventually the cattle car sort of ventures off and then you start going off into the woods and that's all you see is just woods. Everything disappears. And then you come to the barracks. And once they pull up into the barracks, all hell breaks loose. all hell breaks loose at that point. I mean, we are moving in, we're hollering, we're screaming, hurry up, let's go grab your stuff. And they call this initial, what they call initial shock treatment. It's not nothing that's detrimental or anything like that. But basically what it is we're establishing ourselves right from the beginning, establishing them, getting their mind set in a certain way, getting them ready to go through what they're about to go to for the next 13 weeks. And so when they initially get there, things are moving, there's confusion, they're scared, they're afraid. You see, so it's quite an experience. It's quite an experience.
Yeah,
But like
you're
I say,
always
it's
really good.
nothing to it's nothing there's nothing that's done detrimental to hurt or anything like that. Everything is just preparing them because you're gonna go into a total phase of life now. You know?
And it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
So you're always really good about putting yourself into other people's shoes, and you were doing it as you were talking about, the new recruits, because you had, of course, gone through basic training,
Yes.
so you knew what it felt like, and you also knew what it felt like to achieve it.
Right.
About them seeing their parents and stuff. So can you tell us about when you felt like someone wasn't quite keeping up, or they were starting to falter, or they weren't believing in themselves, and then what did you do to get them like back on track?
This is this is where the beauty of it comes in. Like I said earlier, the key is to instill that confidence in them. And so what happens is when you're a drill instructor, you learn different methods of teaching because you get some guys you teach them and they'll get it right away. Some guys you don't, and so you might have to take them what you call the step by step method. Okay, there's situations to where you're gonna have a certain group of guys that get it, and you can say, okay, you guys, you go help these guys over here and help them out. Yeah, peers working. You see, but the main thing is to you're always encouraging them to the point to let them know you don't have enough, but you're gonna get it. Okay. You might not have it, but I'm gonna work with you until you get it. Okay. I'm your drill sergeant. That's my goal. That's my job. You did not come here to fail because I let them know failure, we don't know what that word means. Failure is not an option. And that's what you have to instill in them. Let them know, you listen, you're gonna make it. You didn't come here to fail. And I'm gonna make sure that you do not fail. And that's what like you're gonna get those, you're gonna get those they're not confident in themselves, and so you have to build their confidence. And what it comes down to, James, it's a one-on-one thing. Sometimes you just got to grab their recruit and talk to them and let them know that hey, you're gonna make it, gonna be okay. And then when you can develop it to where he looks and he's got his other guys around him, other friends, and they say, "Hey, man, you're gonna make it. We're gonna help you. It's gonna be." That's the key right there. To be able to get everyone thinking the same thing, to get everyone thinking teamwork. When you got this guy there, you help him out, and that's the key. I'll tell you a situation, Jim. I learned when I was before I became a drill sergeant. I was stationed in Germany, and I was a bucksard, what they call a bucksard, young bucksard, three striper, and go to my duty station, and I'm a team leader, and I got several men up under me. So I got this one gentleman having a situation with problem with. So I said, "Okay, no problem. I'm going to go to the platoon sergeant, and he'll take care of this guy." So I go to the platoon sergeant and tell him, "Well, I'm having this problem." And he looked at me and he said, "Sergeant Cook," he said, "leadership is an art." And he walked away. And he walked away. I'm going there looking for him, expecting him to help me out. Leadership is an art. And he walked away. And so I'm like, okay. What? So in so many words, he was saying, I'm not going to bail you out. Okay. And so I said, okay, so what do I do from here? So the definition of military leadership, Jamie and Peter, it says this specifically. It says that leadership is the art of influencing men in such a manner as to obtain their willingness and obedience to accomplish the mission or whatever they have to do. But the key thing, what it says, that it's an art, because you have. I'm pretty sure, Jamie and Peter, you've seen situations where you've got gentlemen there in leadership positions and CEO. They're in leadership positions, but they're not leaders. They don't know how to deal with people. Everything is a ego, an ego thing, right? So what I did was I started looking at other sergeants and watching how they led their troops, what they did to motivate, what the key things that they did. And that was and that opened up, first of all, the world to me to understand that, you have, in order for you to become a good leader, like I said, you cannot lead until you've been led. In order for you to be a good leader, you have to have been led by a good leader. You have to have that mentor. And so that opened up a whole world to me right there. First of all, just looking at other leaders and see how they lead. What is it that motivates men? How do you communicate? Because you have to communicate differently on different levels. And I found that being a drill sergeant, because you've got one kid who's from the cornfields of Iowa, and then you got one kid that's from the Bronx, New York. Okay. And then you got that one kid that's from down yonder. You see, and then you see, so you've got all these different personalities mixed in together, right? You've got guys that they've never slept with other guys before, so it is definitely an art. But once you master it, and the key, what it comes down to, is just really understanding people, the way they think, and then knowing the right buttons to push in certain situations.
Ever, like I have those scenes in the movies where whether it's Stripes or Full Metal Jacket or whatever, and or a World War II movie. I'm a big like war movie buff, where the guy, does something dumb and knuckleheadedly, and he runs off, and then the sergeant runs in and makes everybody in the whole, I don't know, the company, but everybody do like 100 push-ups and latrine duty. Is that
But,
real
but,
or am
but
I?
Peter, don't tell nobody this now. We're being taped.
I mean, I can handle the truth.
No, 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 no. Here again, no, that does happen. And the reason
Wow.
why the reason why it happens is to teach them teamwork.
Yeah, like
Right, to work
did they
to work together, teaching them teamwork.
did they go after that one guy who did that thing, or do
Yeah,
they everyone?
for example, let's say, for example, we call formation, and everybody comes out of the formation, and you got this one guy or two guys, they're a little bit late. Oh, you're late for formation. All right, so the whole platoon, we had to wait for you. So now guess what, guys? Because these two guys was late, everybody got to do 50 push-ups. That's okay. So now these other 48 guys, they're mad at these two guys. You got to get your act together, But it's I tell you another situation. When I was a trainee myself, there's a thing called you do what you call police call, okay? And one of the things that the military teaches you is they teach you what's called attention to detail. Okay, attention to detail. I tell you two situations. Number one, we used to have a thing called police call. Police call is where they line up all the troops. This is every day, and you walk across the entire compound picking up trash. Anything, picking up cigarette butts, picking up, you just cleaning up the place, right? And they have a thing. If it doesn't grow, pick it up. Okay. So one day we didn't do a great job of this police call. So drill sergeant say, okay.
When you were enlisted,
Right? Huh?
you weren't start. You were
I was
enlisted. You're
enlisted.
new.
I was a trainee, right?
Yeah.
We had to get on the ground and literally crawl. And every little piece we had, you see, listen, let me hey, so what that did was, so now when we do police call, everybody, instead of just lollygagging a cat, they're looking. You see,
Heck
Attention
yeah.
to detail, right? Attention to detail.
Consequence.
I tell you another situation. Um, say like with the barracks, every day the barracks get inspected, right? And they have to be like perfect. Every day get inspected. So I'll give you an example. You know the old mops, those string mops, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mop my floor. Everything is good. It's perfect. They come through and inspect, and it's one little string from the mop is sticking out from the leg of the bed. No good. you know. So and they would go inside and they would inspect the birds, and you look in the window, you see mattresses flying out the window, garbage cans flying out the window. They would literally mess the place up. You have to go back in and do it again, and and look for perfection. Perfection, like I said, with the bathroom not clean. Oh yes, there's been situations. You can't clean it with this big brush we gave you. Try this little brush, and you're. But like I said, it's a thing to where it teaches you attention to detail, little small minor stuff. I had a sergeant one time. He asked me. He said, "Sergeant Cook." He said, "Let me ask you a question." He say, He said, "Have you ever been hit by a train?" I say, "No." Hmm. He
No.
said, "Okay. You ever been run over by like a buffalo or moose, a big, huge animal, anything like that, Sergeant Cook?" No. He said, "Have you ever been stung by a mosquito?" Yeah. He said, "Son, let me tell you something. It's the little stuff that'll get you." You know what I'm saying? The little thing that, and he was teaching it. So when we do those little things, attention to detail. When I went to airborne school, first of all, it took me 9 years to get enough uh guts to jump
Uh-huh.
out of a plane. I'm telling you, I used to look and say, "No way, no, no way am I doing that." But anyway, I finally built up enough courage to go to airborne school. And when you go to airborne school, you got captains, colonels, lieutenants, drill sergeant. Everybody of all different ranks is there. But when you go to that school, you are nothing. You are nothing. They have a thing called a black hat, just like the hat you're wearing. Black hats. They're the airborne instructors. So I bumped on in there my first day, you know. Guy looked at me, drill sergeant, get that hat off your head. Drill sergeant right up, yeah. And so, and they inspect you every morning. Inspect you every morning, looking at your haircut. So for my mustache, you can't have no hairs coming over the top lip in your mustache. It has to be trimmed. I had one little hair came over my lip. Get in the gig pit, Sergeant. The gig pit. There's a guy standing there on a stand, a black hat. You get in the gig pit. The gig pit is all sand. You're in the gig pit. You got to do push-ups. Roll left, roll right. Get up, get down, roll left. Here again, teaching a little attention to detail. So I said, "Okay, I'll solve this, pal." I cut everything off, man. I cut all my hair off. I cut my mustache. I just became an alien, man. It was bad enough, because I got like this small peanut head and these big ears. I tell people I'm like a cross between Mickey Mouse and Planners, Mr. Planners. So,
So, so when you left the armed forces, then you began to work with like business leaders, right? And you were sort of
yeah,
turning that skill that you have and like let's say bringing out the best in people,
right.
and you help people launch businesses and improve their businesses and stuff like that, right? Could you talk a bit about like that phase of your life?
Well, what happened when I got out of the military? All I really knew was military army. Because I went in when I was 17 years old. I give an example. I came out and I tell you how far behind I was back. And then coming to New York, because I'm not from New York. I'm originally from Baltimore. My
Baltimore.
wife is from New York, so that's how we ended up here. You know, she says, because I met her when I was a drill sergeant in Georgia, and I was getting ready to get out. So she says, "Well, let's move to New York." New York? I never moved there. What? She said, "Oh, don't worry, we live upstate." Like upstate. What the hell's that? What's upstate New York? If you've never been to New York, you don't hear upstate. You hear Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens. Upstate? Katona, Yorktown. What's that? You know, it's like even I guess even you live in Jersey, right, Jamie?
I do.
There's some towns in Jersey people never, townships. Newark. Patterson. You don't know this township. Um, and so that's how I ended up here in New York. And so I remember my first start. I was doing constructions. Got a little construction job just to show you how out of touch I was. The guy says to me, he said, we're going to do some excavating." I said, "What's that?" What's that? That's good. He said, "We're gonna dig a hole." I said,
You dig a
"Yes,
hole.
we're gonna go dig." I said,
You're
"Bobby,
funny.
yeah,
Why you're so clean
yeah."
duty? You
Yeah.
know?
And I
Huh.
think my first job, I was doing some retail. I said, $5 now, $5 now, great. I thought it was. I had
Well,
no idea. No, I said because New York was. It was just such a culture shock. But anyway, I ended up getting to the retail business, and end up being a retail manager. And one of my district managers, one day, he gave me this tape called the Plus Factor. It was a motivation. I'd never heard anything like that before, you know, and that really opened up the world, opened up a whole new different world to me. And plus, I tell you what some was really impactful because I was into retail management. So in retail, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with customers. Okay, to be a person or anything, you have to have a certain type of personality. You have to know how to deal with people. And while I was doing this, I ran into a gentleman that was he was a business owner, and he knew other business owners, very successful business owners. And then when I got around these gentlemen, and that opened up a whole new different world to me because I started they started exposing me to the reading of books, and going and listening to other men that were
mhm.
successful business owners, and that's where I learned how to understanding of people, and helping of people, and closer in all different aspects. So that's where it started at. I started out working in retail management, and I just happened to meet this gentleman. And from there, like I said, when I listened to that first tape, and then then I started reading books, different books. I'm sure you remember Dianetics,
L. Ron
L.
Hubbard.
Yeah.
Ron Hubbard. That was like one of the first books that I read. The L. Ron Hubbard, Dianetics, The Power of Positive Thinking, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And so, like I said, being connected to these business leaders, this is what they did. They read positive books. They read those positive books all the time, constantly reading books like that, learning about self talk, self affirmations. When you get to understand that, and you can see where you can incorporate that into other people's lives, I think it's one of the greatest things that anyone can do. I mean,
Mm.
because when you think about it, a guy told me one time, he says, "What's really the only thing that you can do with your life? You give it away. Give away your time, give away your love, give away your experience, give away your help." you know and like I said, I guess you can see it from being a coach, being a father, being or just being a good friend. When you help someone out, that's just such a feeling that doesn't, you're not looking for money or anything, but just to know, you know what? Yeah, I helped this guy out. And as you go through life, and then, you reach a point when you're 50, 60 some years old, and you look back at how many people's lives are so much better because you lived. Yeah.
Good feeling. And Al and I talk about this stuff all the time. We talk about philosophy and this and that, and it's crazy that your first part of your career is helping build leadership capacity in like a kid who's now comes out as a soldier, and now you're and then you're in the business world learning how to be successful and motivate success through even accessing personality, and then you start reading all this stuff. I talk about a book all the time, which I still haven't read, but As a Man Thinketh, simply because we're obsessed. At least I'm obsessed with what Al and I talk about how when you have a thought, then all of a sudden becomes a concrete reality. Whether it's like an architect drawing a house, the next thing you know, there's a house. And Al, I know we were talking earlier, maybe we weren't going to go here, but please go here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about this kind of thinking?
Um, well, basically what it comes down to, like I said, there is a book called As a Man Thinketh. As a man think of it, his heart, so is he. And basically what that says is that everything starts with your thoughts. Everything, as soon as you wake up in the morning, right away we're thinking. See? Everything starts with your thoughts. And so what I've learned is that the thoughts that you have is going to determine the emotions and how you feel. Those emotions and how you feel, and that's going to determine the way you talk and the actions that you take. Those actions you take, the way you talk, now that's going to become your habits. And those habits are going to become your character, and your character, and that's going to become your destiny, whether success or failure. And so what I've learned is that um, whatever you think about, it can become reality. Because if you can see it in your mind, guys, if you can see it in your mind and you can hold it in your hand, it's just like I said, the person, the painter, the guy that's a painter. Imagine this for a second, just to show how powerful it is. Because the person that's a painter, first he sees the picture and then he paints the painting. But he has the ability. He sees that picture in his mind. The guy that's the sculptor, even though there's just one big piece of rock there, but he already sees the finished sculpture. The musician, he hears the melody before anybody else hears, because if you can hear the melody, you can play it, right? And so that's what really got me interested, and especially when I started reading about the power of the subconscious mind. Because you have the mind and then you have the subconscious mind, which is really the power behind you thinking. Period. When you get even deeper into it, and then when you come into I don't know if you're familiar with quantum physics. Familiar with quantum physics? That's a whole different thing too. But basically, what I've learned is that the way you think, that gives you the power to determine what you want to be, what you want to become. Because I tell people this, Peter, for example, says, um, you have imagination and we have the power to visualize, right, Jamie? And think about this. You're born with that. We're born with imagination. And as parents, we don't realize we enhance that imagination from when they're kids. Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, right? Right from the time they're little kids, right? Right away, we're enhancing that imagination and we don't even realize it. We don't even realize it. And this is the sad part. Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, cartoons, right? Halloween, you look at Halloween, what do they want to be? Batman, Superman. They want to be heroes in their imagination. They've imagined that. And it's a beautiful thing. It's really a beautiful thing. But what happens now is as they get older, then we tell them, yeah, well, you know all that stuff you heard, but it's really not real. What do you mean? Right? I mean, which is fine. It is true. It is true. But the point I'm trying to get is we're born with that. We're born with imagination. That's why to kids, nothing is impossible. Hey, Dad, why we can't? Well, we can't do that. Why? Well, what? You see what I'm saying? So, Albert Einstein said, the greatest nation is imagination. And it is. And it starts up here. Everything that's around you, Jamie, everything that's around you right now, Peter, began in the imagination of somebody's mind. That's how powerful the imagination is. And I always tell people, I thank God for the guy who thought of pants. Because it'd be rough in New York on the guy who was wearing them little skirts. And then we still, you know, it's that it's just so it is it's just so powerful, and that's the thing that when you're speaking to somebody and you want to help someone with any problems or challenges that they have, whether it's business, whether it's music or whatever. I mean, I can talk to a gentleman who can be a corporate executive officer of a company, and maybe the company, the profits is not there and so forth. And it's kind of sad because I tell people, you can have a master's degree on top of a master's degree. You can have more degrees than a thermometer. Okay. And you go in there and they say, man, we're going to make you the corporate executive officer. Great. You the man. 2, 3 years later, they call you into the boardroom. Hey, listen, we haven't made no profit in the last 3 years. I'm sorry, we're going to have to let you go. But I've got a master's degree. I'm sorry. We're going to have to let you go. So now the point I'm trying to make is that using this as an example, I'm the corporate executive officer. My goal is to make this company profitable. So the most powerful thing that I have to do that, you know what is, Jamie? You know my P? It's right here. See, what do I need to do to make this corporate? What can I imagine? What do we need to do? We need to hit 8% or 3% or 2%. So what do we need to do to make that happen? So I can visualize that. I can imagine that in my mind. I can already see the company being successful. I can see what I have to do, and that's where I think a lot of people don't understand it, because the power to do it is right here. It's just a matter. You guys know this. Where there's a will,
There's a way.
there's a way. You see,
And I love
and we teach these things to our kids, man, from one time when they're young. Where there's a will, there's a way. You can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. If you put your mind to it. And then what happens? You know what happens? We tell our kids this. And then when it comes to us, we got to find these excuses as to why we can't make it happen. So the big difference that I've learned is that it first of all starts with everything is up here. I mean, what else do you have? What else do you got? So
So as you're working with business owners and entrepreneurs and stuff, do you find that you're trying to like reignite their imagination or trying to
I've
harness that
seen
in some way?
him do it in front of us. It's amazing.
right, exactly. That's
Amazing.
Jamie. See, the first thing, the first thing that I try to do with people, and even with youth, I hear people sometimes, talk about you. Today's youth is fine. They're no different than yesterday's youth. It's no different. But the first thing that when I talk to people, the first thing that I do is I don't talk about the negative. I don't talk about what they can't do, what they should do. You got to let them know what they're capable of doing. Because right away you hear people say, I don't know, man. I don't think I can do it. Yes, you can do it. Yes, you can. But see, what happens is people need someone to ignite them. So you need that, but that one person to make that difference, to make that spark. And so the first thing that I try to do when I talk to people, business owners, is I want them to see the vision. And I tell them, listen, do you have imagination? This is a stupid question. Do you have imagination? Oh, of course I've got imagination. Then use it. Do you have the ability to visualize? Yeah, of course. I remember just like it was yesterday. Then use it. So what happens is they do use it, but instead of them visualizing success, instead of them visualizing achievement, they keep visualizing the downfall. Visualize. You see what I'm saying? They keep speaking. You have
It's
people.
like,
They speak the
oh, sorry.
problem instead of speaking the solution. Instead,
Yes.
oh, I don't know what I go. No, 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 no. Let's figure this out. That's what I tell people right from the beginning. Okay, listen. This is your problem. This is the situation you have, right? So let's think of ways that we can make it better. What's some ideas? What's some ways that we can make it better? And see, and people, you got to get that ignited because Peter, Jamie, this mind we have is so powerful. People have no idea how powerful this mind is. Because if you look at individuals that are successful and individuals that are not successful, what's the difference? The difference is in the way they think. It's no difference. Peter, you and I, James, we're all the same. There's no difference between us. I get up just like you guys get up. You know, I have problem. You know, so there's no difference. The only difference between us three is the way we think. That's the only difference, you see? And so the thing that I have to, when I talk to people, is to let them know that, first of all, that's where it starts, with the way that you think in your imagination. For example, Jamie asked you if you had ever been to Disneyland. Did you say have you ever been there? Taking your kids there?
So we're gonna go to Disney World next year, but we went to Paris one time and we took them to Disneyland in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably thought you were gonna get this quick, simple answer, and I'm like draining it. All right.
No,
It's,
I just
it's a
want to.
straightforward answer.
Um,
I've been to Disney World when I was a kid. I've never been to Disneyland in California, and my kids have not been to Disney World or Disneyland in California. And then we all went to Disneyland in Paris.
Okay.
So there's your long, complicated answer. So
Right.
that's a rhetorical question.
But the point I want to say, Peter, you ever taken your kids to Disney World?
yeah, we had fun. Florida, whatever
You
that
went
one
to
is. Disney.
Florida? Let me ask you a
Yeah.
question. Do you remember how much you paid to get in? Yeah. How much is that?
Ton of money. That's all.
So think about this for a second, Peter. Think about this, Jamie. You paid a ton of money,
Ton.
and somebody opened this gate and said, "Welcome to Disneyland," because of someone's imagination. See,
Mm.
you
All of
go,
that
you
has
go,
to.
and yeah, you
Yeah.
look at finally look at the story of Walt Disney. They thought he was cool. Didn't matter. He had that imagination, and because it was so strong, it was so powerful. There's Disneyland's all over. In Paris, in Florida, they're all over. And think about this, Peter. When you went to it, you say you got to go to Jersey or something, or where you going? No, where you say you're traveling to next week?
Me?
Yeah,
Oh, I got Jersey, Connecticut.
Jersey.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Are you gonna stop by the local livery stable to get the horse that you're gonna need?
No, I'm
You
gonna drive
you're not gonna
beautiful car.
saddle up old Ginger?
Yeah, I got
You're
you.
gonna
Yeah,
drive
yeah.
because of someone's imagination.
The thought of
Someone's
the idea.
imagination. Yeah. Think about this, Jamie. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, there's no phones. Phones haven't been invented yet, and there's no air conditioners, air conditioning hasn't been invented yet.
Yeah. Europe.
A couple of those items. Can you just imagine? No ATM. There's no ATMs neither. So there's none of that around. There's no refrigeration. Refrigeration haven't been. Oh, and lights. There's no lights. You got to do the candle thing, right? But just an example, those little minor things that's part of our everyday life. It began in the imagination of somebody's mind, the imagination. You see,
So what
and so
what
any situation that you're involved in, the first step is to imagine where is it that you want to be. Because I tell people, wherever you want to go in life, your mind gets there before you do. Correct?
Well, I
If
like
I was
that.
to say to you, James, say to you, Peter, guys, listen, I got tickets to Hawaii. I got some guys can't go. We're gonna be there for 2 weeks. You don't have to pay nothing. All expenses paid, so forth. Before you get there, you'll be thinking in your mind, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be chilling." Your mind gets there first before you know. So that's the biggest thing that I've learned.
That's great. So what are some tips that you give to like a business owner? Because like when they're starting their business, they're gung ho and they probably are filled with imagination and their ideas, and they think everything's going to go well, and they're
Mm-hmm.
launching this thing, and then they hit a few hurdles, or even something like COVID happens, or and now like they're feeling downtrodden, they're feeling beaten by the world or these factors that they didn't anticipate, right? So in addition to what you're talking about here, like what are some tips that you give them to help them sort of recover that initial enthusiasm that they once had?
Well, I think the first of all, Jamie, they got to realize is that um, when that's why it's so important to have mentors, because you need to get around somebody that has done what you want to do. You need to get around somebody that's already done what you want to do, because see, they've already been through there. They can tell you the ups, the downs, what to look for, what to do, what not to do. And one of the things that I was told when I got around this business, they said, listen, you got to also be willing to fail. You got to be willing to fail, but you can't let it scare you. You got to use that as a motivating factor. Okay. So the first thing that I tell them, first of all, is you got to write down your goals. What is it that you want to do? Because, for example, it's no use to go and see in a basketball game. You look around and you say, "Wait a minute, where's the goals?" There's no goals. Has got to be something. There's got to be something to shoot for, right? So you got to write down these goals. You've got to realize that before the victory, there's always the struggle. There's always the struggle before the victory. So the business owner, when he goes in the business, yes, you're gung ho, you want to be successful, but you got to understand you're going to hit those pitfalls. You're going to hit those mountains. You're going to hit those low points. That's what business is. Just like an investor realize, you know what? You're gonna have good years, you're gonna have bad years, you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, but he's in for the long haul. He's in for the long haul. And so the key to that, what I tell Jamie is what they have to do. That's why it's so important to constantly be reading something that's positive, constantly listen to something that's positive, constantly being around those people that are positive, that can keep you going, that can help you and say, well, this is the situation, this is how you correct that. But you have to understand that you got to develop mental toughness. Okay, that's where you got to develop mental toughness, and you have to realize that I say you're gonna have these good days, you're gonna have these bad days, but you keep pushing forward. The key, Jamie, is you may have heard this. You have to keep the end means in mind. In other words,
Mm.
you constantly focusing on where you want to go. You constantly see that finished product. You constantly going there regardless of what happened. That's why, like with like with horses, race horses, you ever notice how they have those things on the side?
Yeah.
You know what they're
Yeah.
for?
Fine.
Do you know what they're for? You
Uh,
know what they're for, Jamie?
Yeah, so they don't get distracted.
Yes, exactly. So they don't get distracted. And so what happens? They're here. And that's how individuals have to be, and business owners have to be. You have to still be here. Okay, so and regardless of what's going on to the left or the right, you keep it moving. When the flood comes, you keep it moving. Okay, you just got to keep it, and you have to keep it focused. And so I tell business owners, the thing is, you have to keep that goal in mind. You have to keep the vision in mind, and the key is, you have to be able to get the people that's around you, the team that's around you, to capture that vision that you have as well. Because see, when you can get a group or a team of individuals all thinking the same way. I give you an example. There's a thing called the mastermind. You familiar with that term? The mastermind. So this is how it works. Let's say, for example, you got a business owner, and the business is not going well, or not where it needs to be. So the business owner calls a meeting. So if he's a smart business owner, the people that are around him should be a little bit smarter than he is.
oh,
You see what I'm saying? Because if you
yeah.
you want people around you that's smarter than you, if you're the smartest guy, you need a new group. Okay, so you got to gather up you guys around, and then what you have to do is, now you got to come up. Let's take this powerful mind that we have and utilize it. Let's come up with your ideas. Everybody has ideas, but we're all heading in the same direction. There's one goal. And although you have 8 or 10 different minds, so we combine everything together. So now we become what's called the mastermind, one big mastermind. And so the key to it, Jamie, in anything you're doing, whether it's sports, whether it's business, but I tell business owners, main thing is the attitude that you take. Okay, so what, the business is not where it needs to be. So what do we do to fix it? How do we have to fix it? In your mind individually, you have to say to yourself, it doesn't matter what happens, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to be successful at it. I'm going to do it. And when you tell yourself that, the mind eventually says, okay. But it has to be a constant thing. It has to be something you got to constantly bombard yourself with it every day. Just the same way we eat every day, we bathe every day. So the greatest investment we got to realize is the investment that we make in ourselves. We have so many goals and dreams, but at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, with everything that I need to achieve, what did I do today to work toward that goal? Did I
Mm.
do anything today to work toward that goal, or did I just sit and complain about it again? Did I do anything to work toward that goal? Like I said, there's always the struggle before the victory.
Al, I've seen you, whether doesn't matter who it is, listen to someone's entire problem catalog of why they can't. I've seen you do this. It's amazing. Like they can't, and you just seem to listen, and you listen, and then you'll somehow just the switch goes. I don't know how you do this. You go, well, something like, well, what do you think you should do about it? Like, or something.
Yeah.
And like, well, actually, I probably just need to website my company, or I just need to go and do the thing.
Right.
Oh, great.
Right.
It's a gift you have, and I don't know whether you were born with it, or you've always been this way, or whether the drill sergeant practice in your life, of bringing out greatness in others, and you keep doing it. I know you're active in your community and your church and in our friend group and all that stuff. And I know that you want to be, or you're a motivational speaker, and that you want to be able to activate like groups of people more and stuff. I would love to hear more about what that looks like for you. Like why, or why motivational speaking?
Um, I think because me personally, I've always been the type of person who I've always liked to see people achieve. I've always
Mm,
been the type of person
huh,
that
like able to see ideas become concrete realities.
Yeah, and I've always liked to, uh,
I see what you're doing.
be enthusiastic and to see people achieve their goals, and that's just something is, I guess, just that's always been me. Just love to see people achieve. I said it's just, I guess, like I said, when sometimes you've been teaching your child how to tie their shoes and they finally get it, you're like, yeah, yeah, But I just like to see people who, they was in this situation and now they're out of that situation. And just like say, I can just say to myself, well, I'm glad to say that I helped that person. I was a part of that person's life. It's a really good feeling, and I think when you do that, because the guy told me, he says, when you help other people get what you want, then you get what you want.
Mm.
You get what you want, and so motivational speaking is because I've come to realize why certain people are where they are in life. And like I said, it just comes down to what is it that they're saying to themselves. Some people, they need someone to give them that confidence they need. That boost something, that spark. They need to constantly be around people that are that same way, that same attitude. Makes a difference. It's just, me personally, it's just something that I always just loved. I love being around people. I love talking to people. I love, um, um, like I said, meeting people, and it's
Hmm.
just, and I guess everybody has their own love. There's the guy, the love of, like, I know this one guy. He's he owns a restaurant in Port Chester. Okay, and not in Port Chester, in New Rochelle, a restaurant in New Rochelle, right? So it's pretty pricey, so forth. Like, but you know what? But he loves doing charity events.
Mm.
It's just the love. He just loves doing that. Just love giving and just loving on people. Love doing stuff like that. And that's just the way I am, Peter. Just because I just love on people, and as I talk to people, as I talk to them, and I listen to them, and I listen to them, because, like, I heard a lady, she says, one half of the world is waiting for the other half to say hello, because people don't talk to each other no more. It's even worse now. You're gonna train everybody's like this. Everybody's on their everybody's on their phone.
Right?
You know,
On my phone.
right? But I know that everybody, regardless of how much money you make, regardless of what position you're in, everybody has situations that they're going through. Everybody have problems that they're going through. They got financial problems, marriage problems, business problems, relationship problems. You know, and I've just been there. Once I talk to people and I listen to them talk, then eventually I'm going to find out what's going on in their life. Okay. And then when I say, well, how would you handle this situation? So what that does, Peter, it forces them to think. It forces them to think now. Or I said, listen, if I was your best friend and I had that problem, what would you tell me to do?
Yeah.
Mm. Because see, like, when somebody else has a problem, like, Peter, you had a problem, 10, 15 guys will call you up. Hey, Peter, you need to do this. You need,
You did that to me once.
yeah, yeah.
And I remember I was like, "Yeah, I don't really know what to." And you go, "Well, if I was your best friend, what would you tell me to do?
Right,
If
right,
your best friend had that problem, what would you tell him?" And I was like, "Well, I'd tell him blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh my gosh,
right. Yeah, and we know, say we find, like, we always know what's best for somebody else. Well, you should do this, and if your one of your kids got a problem, you need to do this. You should do this. If you got a problem, you go, come ask old dad. I've been there, done that. But then when it comes to us, sometimes we find excuses, and so my one of my goals and my dreams is just to help people to realize that whatever it is in life that you want to accomplish, you can accomplish it but it all begins and it starts with the way you think. What are you saying to yourself? What are you speaking to? You have to also be aware of what you're surrounded around. For example, if you watch a lot of TV, it's a lot of negative all the time. I know people who listen to. You familiar with 1010 Win News?
Yeah.
I know people listen to that all day long, all day long, and then Fox News all day. I mean, nothing's wrong with that. That's what you want to listen. But you're constantly bombarding yourself with negative stuff.
Problems and problems and
Bunch of
problems.
negative stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you figure you get up in the morning, you turn on the TV, right away you start listening to the news, negative. You ain't got much time. I gotta hurry up, I gotta rush and get out there, and you get in traffic and you're speeding, and you got other drivers and they're cutting you off, and you're late, and then you run into, oh, there's an accident. Oh, now I'm really going to be even more late. And we're
How do you know that happens to me every time I drive to one of my gigs? How did you know that happens?
and we do nothing. You got actions of what have I really done today to enhance my life? What have I done today to improve myself? You hear people, this is the biggest one, Peter. People, you say, I haven't been able to do that. Oh man, I'm just so busy. I'm just so busy. Busy doing what? Are you busy succeeding or are you busy failing? No, you're just busy going through the normal everyday stuff that you've been doing for the last 25, 30 years, making excuses. Right? Let me give you an example. What's the worst day to go to the gym?
I wouldn't know.
The
It,
worst
it,
day to go to the
it,
gym.
it would be right after everyone makes their New Year's resolutions.
January 1st. The worst day to go to the gym. It is the biggest joke. You go in there, it is packed. Oh, this is it. Oh, I'm gonna do it this time. Oh boy, I'm gonna use. Get in there. Monday is packed. The 2nd of January is packed. The 3rd of January is packed. Now you go into the second week of January, and it's starting to filter out a little bit. Not as many people around, right? Not as many people around, right? And then, so what happens is you hear the next is, well, you know what? I'll wait till the springtime. I got some stuff to do. And then the springtime comes around, and then there's another excuse, and then there's another excuse, and there's another excuse. And so what happens, Peter, is we spend our time wasting time. We spend our time wasting time. For example, if I say to you, Peter, how are you physically? You work out pretty good 3 to 5 times a week.
Me, personally?
Yeah.
Uh, I should.
Would you say you need? Would you say you need to improve? Would you say you
January.
need to improve yourself physically? You need your physical.
Well, he leaves his equipment around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I,
Singing,
I
singing.
exercise like probably 3 to 5 days a week for hours. Seriously, playing music and lugging stuff and
Okay. So that right. So regardless, you do that, right? You work out. Regardless, and there's a focus there. And because that focus is that you continue regardless, you focus and you make that happen. Okay. And so, like I say, when people say, I'm so busy, busy doing what? Are you busy succeeding? What are you busy doing? Are you busy working toward achieving your goal? Whether it's if it's the business owner that things are not happening. So what are you doing with your time? Are you working toward a time, or are you just going home, sitting home, and just planting it and
moping.
watching the TV?
Part of your part of your approach, then, and I think we've seen, a little bit of a spectrum here. This last bit was a little bit more the drill sergeant, right? A little bit of tough love. But your other approaches were, a little softer or a little bit more positive regard, or let's let them talk. Um, Peter pointed out a couple of things, challenging their point of view. Like, what would you tell your friend? So all of a sudden, you've asked them to rearrange their mindset. So you have a few different approaches here that I imagine you use certain ones on certain people to bring this out. So, I can appreciate all that. Just sort of summarizing here, because I feel like we've seen a few different motivational approaches from you that I think could all work in challenging how one thinks, how one acts, having them look at their life in a certain way, look at what they're trying to achieve in a certain way. So, as we look to kind of wrap things up here, what would be some, advice you would leave for people as you kind of now enter this new phase where you're this motivational speaker? What sort of things would you say to people in general about? Um, Also, I want to comment on the fact that you've remained so positive in your life, right? I imagine you've had ups and downs, right? And I could see how Peter is the same way. I would put myself in the same category. So even though we've had ups and downs, we've remained positive. But you especially are so positive and strong and forceful with that. So just kind of summarizing here, and then leaving us off with like some final words from you. What would you say, advice for people to keep that positivity, keep going forward, challenge yourself, go for what you're trying to achieve? What would be some advice you would give people?
Well,
Wh- uh,
I'm sorry,
or
Peter, go ahead.
would you start off with like 10? I don't know if that's the right terminology.
No, I think what I would do is I think one of the things sometimes is we don't appreciate the little things in life. You know,
Ooh, that's,
we don't appreciate the little things. For example, um, like in the summertime, if it's real warm, I just go outside and I just want to sit in the sun. Just to feel the sun. Or sometime I go at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It's dark and it's just quiet and just looking around and just enjoying nature. So the first thing I would tell people, regardless, is when you wake up in the morning, right there's a blessing. You woke up. You know what I'm saying? It could have been your last day. You could have looked and said, that woman you've been with for 20, 30 years could have been the last time you seen her. So first of all, if you wake up, that in itself is something to be happy about. You know? And sometimes I wake up and it's real quiet. I get up for everybody and looking, the wife's okay. And I was saying that the wife's okay and got a couple of doggies, the doggies okay. Look outside, we're still here, The cars, nobody's still in cars. We didn't blow up, So just begin your day looking at what are the little things that you can be thankful for. Those little things. To wake up and like for example, we have a few doggies, and I said, well, you know why they said dog is a man's best friend? Do you know why they say that?
why do they say it?
Because the dog's attitude never changes. He's always happy to see you, always glad to see you. Wake up, man, his tail is wagging. The dog's attitude never changes. So the first thing I said was when you wake up in the morning, what is it that you can be thankful for? Begin your day like that. What is to be thankful for? And then the second thing you got to do is, like I say, you have to write down your goals. You have to be able to see what it is that you want to accomplish. Begin your day. Begin your day reading your goals. Begin your day by looking at what is it that I can be thankful for. Okay, what is it? Who do I need to get around? What do I need to do to be successful? And the attitude has to be that you're going to be successful. You're going to make this happen regardless. You're going to be but the attitude has to be. You have to understand. I tell people, the only thing you really have is other people. That's your greatest resources is other people, and learning when you help other people and you're interested in other people. Like I said, you'll get the rewards. It'll come back to you. But the key that I would say, Jamie, is what people have to understand. It's all it's all your attitude. It's all attitude and realizing that this brain you have is remarkable. It is a remarkable instrument. You're thinking 75 to 80,000 thoughts a day. You have the ability to imagine, you have the ability to visualize. So the key that I would tell, it all is up here. Jamie, we can get on the computer and you can send a message around the world in the billionth of a second. But sometimes when you're dealing with people, it takes years to get through this 6 inches. You see what I'm saying? It takes years to get through this 6 inches, And so that's the key, Jamie, is for people to realize that they have the power, they have the ability to take their life in any direction they want to do, understanding, but you have the imagination, you have the visualization. If one guy can be successful, you can be successful. Is this guy was successful in this area? You can be successful. He's no different than you. He wakes up in the morning, and I use one. This is not the greatest. I said, well, you know what? When that guy goes to the bathroom, he has an aroma too. You might have to cut that one out to edit that one, Peter. Might have to take that out. You might have to take that one off.
We're gonna put that one.
But that's what I've learned, Jamie, and it is so true. It is so true. Let me give you an idea. I'll tell you how true it is, just to give you an idea to show you how it works. Two things. One, you ever think about an old friend you haven't seen for a while? Say, man, I wonder what happened to old Peter Carucci. I ain't seen old Peter in a long time. What happens?
I usually smile.
No, I'm saying, but when you think of that person, you haven't seen him in a while, what happens? That person shows up, or you get a telephone call. It was, oh man, I was just thinking about you, right? Has that ever happened? No, man, I was just thinking about you. How powerful that is.
Yeah.
So the key, like I was saying, is realizing that you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. You want to be able to say to people, when people say to you, how's it going? It's going exactly the way I want it to go. You know? How's it going? Well, under the circumstances. How come you're always under the circumstances? You see what I'm saying? We say things and don't realize how negative. Well, under the why are you always under the circumstances? Well, I'm trying. Why are you trying? Just do it. Don't try. You either do it or you don't. Don't try. You see what I'm saying? Those little things that we say to ourselves make such a difference. And got to go back to what you tell your kids. And you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. Okay, Dad, well, what happened to you? Oh, well, excuses. So if I had to put it in a nutshell, Jamie, that you have to constantly keep your mind, focused on um, reading and listening, to what is it that you're filling yourself with? Are you spending your time, a lot of time, just watching TV, being around negative people? So it's sort of like this, Jamie. Your heart and you imagine that as being the ground, being soil. And the words you speak, imagine the words you speak as being seeds that you put into the soil. Okay? The soil, does the soil care? Does the soil care what you plant? The soil doesn't care, right? You can plant whatever you plant, it's going to grow. Okay? So if you're speaking words of doubt, words of fear, words of uncertainty, that is what your mind is going to continue to do. If you say, I don't think I can do it, the mind is going to say, great, we're not going to do it. That's because that's the mind's job. The mind is your servant. But then you can say, I listen, I know this is the way you feel, right? Peter, in the morning, you might get up and say, you know what? The body might say, yo, Peter, man, I ain't in for this working out, so forth. But then Peter said, I don't care. We're going to the gym, pal. We're going to the gym, regardless of how you feel. Am I right, Pete?
Yeah.
We're going.
Well, I don't really wake up in the morning.
And then once you get there, you've been there about 5 or 10 minutes. You know? But
Uh,
that's
I
for
get my
me.
5 to 10 minutes and I'm done. It's great. That's a really good point. And we're just really grateful that you're open to sharing more of your perspective, your
One,
world
one,
of experience.
one quick thing that I know what I forgot. I know what I forgot to tell you. I know what I forgot to tell you. This is so important. And I shared this with you too, Peter. See, I believe that, when it's something you want to accomplish, that there's a force out there that makes that happen. Okay. I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker for a while. And at one point in time, I'd imagined doing a podcast. Just imagine doing a podcast. It was just, wow, that was a way, what? I know this popular podcast, but I never thought of reaching out to find, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, Jamie, whatever thoughts you have, they're like magnets. And when you send them out there, it's going to hook up with that other thought in the brain. So what happens now? This guy Peter walks into the store. I'd never met him, and we talking. We got to know each other, Come find out. Lexus, stop. I love music. He loves music. And we talking, and then he talks about, would you like to try something on a podcast? And I thought, wow, wow. I thought about this. It was just a thought. But that thought went and it came back. So that's a seed that I planted, And so here I am. And so, first of all, I want to thank you, Peter, and I want to thank you, Jamie, for giving me this opportunity, because it could be a start, and my prayer, I say, well, hopefully, if it airs, maybe it'll help somebody, maybe it'll help a couple of people. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. And so I want you to know, Jamie and Peter, I thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. It's a blessing for me. It's a blessing for me. And so in return, I hope it's successful. I hope I can be able to look up one day and say, wow, Jamie, man, we got like over 1 million viewers every now and then. Because like I say, I can share, the podcast with all the men that I know. So I want you guys to know, I thank you, for giving me the opportunity, because, I'm not perfect. I'm not a public face speaker. I'm just Al Cook. I thank you. I thank you so much. I really do. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. God bless both of you. I thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a great conversation. I feel like we learned a lot. I think the listeners and everyone out there, I think they learned a lot. I think you did help people, anyone that checked this out. So on that note, I think we'll wrap it up. Again, thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Um, and everybody, thank you for watching or listening. And we will see you next time.
Okay.
Ciao.
Take care.